Welcome back to the News at Night. Over the past 24 years, the Grateful Dead have become a national musical institution. But lately, through no apparent fault of their own, they've been having some problems. The Dead's fans have always been among the mellowest on the music scene, but their celebratory communalism has been drawing bad reviews from police outside the group's shows lately. For example, this rather ugly confrontation in Pittsburgh last April. Note the lack of mellow vibes. With me now is Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead. What's going on with the fans out here? Is it the fans, is it the cops, and what's the Dead doing about it?
Well, they follow us around. A number of them follow us around from show to show. And we're trying to discourage that, at least during our spring and fall tours.
Yeah.
Well, that piece of tape looked like it was the cops to me.
It looked like the cops to me, too.
I didn't see the kid throwing anybody to the ground. You know.
But the police had an investigation of this, and they decided they did no wrong. So I guess we can rest easy.
Well, I think it really has a lot to do with whatever is selecting what it looks at, too. I mean, I hate to be that person that says, well, media is to blame for a lot of this, but a certain amount of it is the emphasis is, I mean, if you go somewhere expecting there's something bad to happen and something bad does happen and you catch it, it becomes an event then. But in reality, I mean, I was at that show too and didn't experience anything weird, and so I think probably most of the audience did. It was that kind of experience as well. But there's been a lot of excitement about the camping overnight thing.
Sure.
That seems to create a lot of friction in a lot of communities.
But that's been going on for years, and there's never been a
well, I
problem.
think it's the numbers maybe now.
Yeah.
You know, so when you start to threaten the population in terms of numbers, when you double the population of a town overnight, you know, I think they start to get uneasy. And I think it's that sort of thing really is more of the problem rather than violent outbreaks. I mean, that hasn't characterized our shows at all, really.
No.
You know, violence or any of that kind of stuff.
On the spring and fall tours, we play hockey halls, you know, arenas, and they're generally in the city center, and a lot of cities just can't take the influx of people, especially if they're going to camp out or squat wherever. So what we're trying to do is disarm the potential for trouble by not encouraging camping. And all that kind of stuff.
And not encouraging bootleg merchandise.
Well, it's one of those. It puts us in the unfortunate position of having to tell people what to do or suggest. You know, but really, it's the kind of situation of either we can play here. And you can not have these things, or nothing. None of it can happen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, we're thrown into that kind of position. So it's, I mean, all we can do is pass this on to the fans and hope that they'll do what they think is the right thing.
There are a number of towns where we're simply not welcome back.
Yeah.
But this isn't true everywhere. I mean, some places it's perfectly all right too.
But there's some places we won't see the Grateful Dead there anymore. Is it one of those?
Yeah. There's a
That's
few
too
places we plumb used them up.
Jeez.
And so we have to accept this is it's a reality for us. We have to do something about it.
Do you think this is part of the, I mean, there's a real feeling of clamping down on rock and roll again. You hear from politicians and the PMRC.
No,
is this part of that?
This is trouble. This really is trouble. Too many people for too little space.
Right. There may be a political side to it. Some far end of the war on drug pillow, you know, some part of that
The war
thing,
on weirdness.
You know? Yeah, maybe it's just that. I mean, if it's weird, we don't want it here in our community.
These are dire times, you can see. There's better news, however. The Dead have a new album out and a new single called Foolish Heart, not Unto a Foolish Heart. Right now, we're going to have a world premiere. Let's take a look at it. The Grateful Dead, Foolish Heart. Becoming video pros. Are you appreciating it more these days, or is it just something that has to be done?
Well, we're getting more and more photogenic, and
You're getting better looking
we
as you get
sort
older.
of have to milk the situation.
What's with this tuxedo? What's going on there? What's with this Misty tuxedo thing? We saw you doing Misty out in San Francisco.
Well, actually, that tuxedo is period gear. It's 18th or 19th century.
Victoriana.
Oh, it's antique then.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. So it's not something you wear every day.
Didn't read so clearly in the video, but
Bob's everyday tux is a whole different thing.
right. It's a little too tight
Much
for
more
me.
modern.
It's it's a little too modern, as a matter of fact. I'm going to have to get another tux.
Right.
Something a little less overstated.
What's the album going to be about? Very quickly, is it doing any wild covers on it, or are there surprises in there? Aside from the usual good Dead stuff.
There are some surprises on there. There are no
Surprised
covers.
us.
It's all new stuff. It actually came out pretty good.
It has an integrity of its own.
Yeah.
I don't think you could put it any better than that.
There you go.
Guys, thanks for being here today.
Our pleasure.
The Grateful Dead, their album will be out later this month. We'll be back in a minute with horror news. And speaking of frightening, Trixie's visit to a New Age festival. Don't go away.